right, I think I'm live. Hold on a second. Let me just check my audio and we'll get into it. Check. I'm live. Hold on a second. Perfect. All right, brothers. I'll be right with you. Yes, sir. All right. Apologies for the background noise, but we are live. We're going to get into it. But first, shout outs. Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to another stream. Finks Art of Boxing. But before I go on, I wanted to pause, send a quick thought or prayer to Mr. Patrick Day. Over the weekend, was put in a coma after his fight. Had emergency brain surgery. And so now today he's in intensive care. Something we don't like to see in the sport of boxing. We've had too much of that recently. So I wanted to send a quick thought and prayer to Mr. Patrick Day, to Mr. Errol Spence, who was involved in a car accident. No one else. It was just him, and his Ferrari flipped over at 3 a.m. in the morning. Terrible time. But my thoughts to the young man Errol Spence, and finally thoughts to Mr. Ali Bashir, who had a setback and had some brain bleeding after being attacked on stage at the weigh-in for his young boxer's fight. So I want to send my thoughts out to Patrick Day, Errol Spence, and Mr. Ali Bashir. Let's give it 10 seconds. And now we back, guys. Welcome back. Let's get the energies up. Man, I've been waiting for this one. It's on Friday, so it's going to be here before you know it. I got a pretty busy week coming up. Things are picking up for me personally, so that's good. All right, y'all. If you guys are listening, I ask you to hit the thumbs up. If you like the contents of this video, please comment in the chat section. Let me know what you think about the topic at hand. I ask you to subscribe if you want to keep up with your boy Finks. And on your way out, make sure you hit that bell icon to let you know next time we go live. All right, so you guys see the title of the video. You guys see my icon, hopefully, if you're on your computers or looking on your phone. That's Mr. Alexander Gvozdyk and his fight against Adonis Stevenson to become the lineal and WBC 175-pound world champion. The Ukrainian, the man who made my pound for pound list. I think he was my pound for pound number 1 when I started this channel and when I began tracking my own rankings. We all know pound for pound lists are subjective, so I hope you bear with me as I suggest my idea, my philosophies for boxing and how I rank and what I look for, and just basically all around, So if you like that, please subscribe to keep up with me. What a weekend, though. Always good when we have some world title fights. And then when we get to watch a contender for the pound for pound list. We had Alexander Usyk, who was also on my pound for pound list. If you guys been keeping up with me, I made a new sort of list for myself at the start of this month, maybe a week ago, actually. And Usyk just didn't make the cut. Usyk was on it, but the way I do the list, if you guys know, I look at the traditional 8 weight classes. That would be from flyweight up to heavyweight, with none of the junior and super divisions in the list. I like to do things that way because most of the all-time lists, all-time greatest fighters lists, they list fighters from that era of the 8 weight classes. And on top of just fighting guys bigger than them, there was only one belt at the time. There were so many things to sort of pare down the guys who were the all-time best versus the guys that were just the best. You had guys going up 3 weight classes, but that would be from like featherweight up to welterweight. Some of those guys were fighting middleweights. Some of those guys even went on to fight heavyweights. Kind of crazy what they did, and they fought so often that just to have been alive had seen those guys who had 100, 200 wins under their belt, or 200 fights at least under their belt. Man, I feel like you'd be looking at something else. But this is modern boxing, but I think you could still sort of suss out the criteria. On my list, I look at the 8 weight classes, and I try to include like the super flies in that list. That's definitely a competitive divisions, but unfortunately that subdivision falls under bantamweight. If you look at the traditional weight classes, and I think Inoue, although it's controversial, because Inoue sort of skipped the super flyweight division. He's now at bantamweight, and I mean, depends how you rate Srisaket Sorungvisai, and depends how you rate Roman Gonzalez at Superfly. I believe that the Nonito Donaire fight for Inoue on his way moving up, and the fights he's had at this weight class. Maybe you don't think bantamweight is as competitive, but I believe Inoue is going to beat Donaire in a great fight. Looking forward to that. That's coming up soon. That's another unification fight. I mean, are we keeping track of this? We're having all sorts of unifications. Not just one person bringing all the belts, but now it's, two champions. That's sort of been the flavor of the month. We've had plenty of fights where you might have a unified champion bringing his belts against a mandatory, a la Julian Williams beating Jared Hurd. But this fall, this third quarter of the year, we've had Errol Spence and Sean Porter. We're going to have Gvozdyk versus Beterbiev, Naoya Inoue versus Nonito Donaire. So I think it's great. Josh Taylor versus Regis Prograis. I mean, it's a tricky one. Another fight too, before I go on this video, let me just check the chat. And thank you guys if you are listening now. Should try to wrap this up pretty quick though. Another fight though, Regis Prograis versus Josh Taylor. It's not for lineage, I guess, too, as we have here for the 175-pound fight, but just on skills, and those guys are smaller guys, so it's going to be quick and it's going to be powerful. So looking forward to that. More on that 140-pound division, like I explained before. if maybe you want to make an argument for the Superfly, Juan Francisco Estrada, good fighter, good boxer, but bring him up to the 140-pound division, and I'd be curious how he'd fare against a Josh Taylor or a Regis Prograis. But certainly the way I rate Josh Taylor, it's something that I think he could bring his height, his speed, his strength up to 147, and at least get a belt somehow at that point, depending how he plays out his 140-pound career. I think he'd either need the WBO or the IBF. Maybe they'd let him get into a title shot, but we'll see how things shake up. Unfortunately, the current unified champ. Our best wishes go out to him, but we'll see how he comes back from that. And let us go on. But first, water. All right. So this weekend, quick notes. We had Bivol, the other 175-pound champion, after Beterbiev, Gvozdyk, and Kovalev. He was in a fight against Lenin Castillo. To be honest, some of you won't be surprised. I don't know who Lenin Castillo is. To my new listeners, I'm trying to target a more casual audience. Although I know the hardcores are the people listening to me, they're probably hardcore. They just want all the boxing talk they can get. But I'd like to cater a little more to the casual audience. To be honest, I don't know who Lenin Castillo was. I could have looked him up, get caught up. It's the internet age, but I didn't do that. And so I just watched the fight, and I was happy to watch. It was actually the first time I watched Bivol and came out of it sort of appreciating what he does. I guess I needed to watch. No disrespect to Mr. Lenin Castillo. I keep up with boxing at a hardcore pace, I would say. Although my opinions might seem more casual, maybe. I don't know. Depends. You guys let me know. But I'm trying to teach myself. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what Lenin has done to really merit this spot. Not sure if he was just I think he was maybe a voluntary. People saying that the other fighters didn't want him. I don't really want to get too much into that. I just wanted to see the fight, to see Bivol, to see Usyk. And yeah, man, Bivol brought out the Boo Jays. I think it was already in the 7th. As early as the 7th that people were booing, hissing, and I kind of started sympathizing a little bit for Bivol. Like, he's in a really tough division. Everyone's bigger or everyone's stronger. I mean, look at the lineal champion. Gvozdyk is big and strong and can box. And he's got decent footwork. He'll box your head off if he needs to. So I like Gvozdyk over Bivol, that's for sure. And just seeing him against Lenin, he looks small. He like Bivol himself, he's a world champion, but he looks small. He looks like kind of like what Lomachenko looks like at lightweight. Since they're, if not for nothing, I'm just going to pull out Linares, not comparing him to Castillo, but Linares, he looked tall. Pedraza looked tall. And Pedraza's at 140. I mean, not saying that he's going to do anything at 140, but he could bring his dimensions up to 140. So Bivol against like Lenin Castillo, he was looking small in there. If there's a Lenin Castillo like that, there's definitely going to be someone with his dimensions who's a lot better. That being said, it was pretty much a shutout for Bivol. And he dropped him. He did drop the guy, but I don't think he ever really hurt the man Castillo otherwise. Definitely caught him with a good shot, but he wasn't knocked out, so I don't think it was concussive. It definitely ringed him, chinned him there, and he was off balance too, and he woke up fast enough to like, you could see him like smiling, laughing in the replay, like, yeah, I'm going down. but he came up and he went the distance, losing on the UD. Bivol gets the decision. But like I said, I was sympathetic. I was like, he is fighting bigger, stronger guys. So, but then I thought more about it because I never really loved Bivol as a fighter, and just kind of questioning myself too, like why do I maybe like the style, but do I think he should be at 168, which is arguably less competitive, but still competitive and has really good names and fights. Like at this point, I'd like to see him against a Callum Smith, and that's on his promotional company. He's called out Canelo, but at 168, but you should be calling out Callum Smith at 168. He is on your side of the field. You guys, if you don't like talking about sides of the field or sides of the street, then I don't know. You must not live in a neighborhood or anything. I don't know what to say because anytime I cross the street, I know I'm dealing with a whole different group of people, and I don't know where you guys live. But that being said, on his yard, he's got Callum Smith. He could be calling out. And I know Canelo's the big money fight and all of that, but you could call out Triple G at 168. There was a time when Andre Ward and Triple G were in conversation. This is why I created a channel, so I can talk and play a matchmaker, and I don't really have to listen to too many other people if I don't want to, because there's too many opinions out there. Sort of becomes groupthink sometimes, and this is how we get, for lack of a better fight, that's how we kind of get the Crawfords. Let's go back. That's kind of how we get the Lomachenkos versus Rigos, and then the Wilder versus Joshua calls, and that stuff lasts years, and it's too much, man. Like we could be getting so many great fights like we've seen all year if this stuff just happens naturally with Mandos and with titleists that actually want to fight each other. They get in the ring. Why did Beterbiev versus Gvozdyk happen so quickly? Errol Spence and Sean Porter, there was some bullshitting happening there, but that fight happened. And we got a Danny Garcia versus Porter fight out of it too. Yeah, and we lived long enough to see Keith Thurman versus Manny Pacquiao. So good fight. We're getting Prograis versus Josh Taylor. All this stuff is happening naturally, and once you get involved in groupthink, you might not really be talking about the Josh Taylors versus Regis Prograis fights like that, and you're going to spend more time arguing Crawford versus Spence when we're getting some really good fights. And Beterbiev versus Gvozdyk, this is happening. So Bivol, I wanted to finish up my conversation about him. I'm just gonna check the chat. Get a drink of water. Yes, sir. All right, we back. Man, I got plenty of things to talk about, but where are we at? Okay. Could have a little pound for pound discussion later, but I just want to finish up, wrap up the weekend with Bivol. If he's talking about 168, I don't believe any of the PBC fight, especially because fights happen so less frequently. That you should just get the fights that your promotional company can make. More often than not, though, I think you can find the competitive fight that will help you get the money you think you deserve, or that you deserve. Like I'm always trying to get the most money for myself, for better or worse, while trying to get good experience. So with Bivol, if he wants to go to 168, maybe call out the Plants of the world. You also have, like I said, Callum Smith. He needs a fight, and you have the Billy Joe Saunders. I mean, you don't have to vacate your belt, No one's really calling you out on your side of the street. The other champions, they're all wrapped up anyways, so why not? And we all know Kovalev's fighting Canelo. That's cross promotion, but anyone would cross promote with Canelo if you can make that fight. That's millions of dollars. So Bivol, think at 168 he could do well. I think he still has fights at 175. He doesn't need to be matched up against someone we all don't know. We would know like Jesse Hart or a Zordo before those guys even. Those guys are on ESPN too, though. So Beebles got to find a way, and I think he has the dimensions to go to 168 and call out either Billy Joe Saunders or Callum Smith. If those guys are wrapped up to each other, well, actually, Billy Joe has a fight. Callum doesn't have any fights. Billy Joe has the KSI fight, so I don't know what the heck's happening. You got to play a B side at some point, but those guys are wrapped up. All the champions are wrapped up with really good fights. So yeah, Bivol doesn't represent my 175 pounders. Gvozdyk does for now, but I'll get into that fight in a second. Second part of my video was going to be about Usyk and him leaving my list of 10. So I mentioned in the start of the video that I include the 8 weight classes, and then that out of 10, that would leave 2 others. It could either be a number 2 in a division or a number 2 in one of the junior or super divisions, depending on how competitive I think those divisions are right now. For example, Superfly, I'm not seeing the competitive fights as much as I'm seeing them at 140, and then the Nonita Donaire versus Naoya Inoue. That's also the most competitive fights out of compared to the Superfly fights that we've had. And I just don't love how Estrada, not even, it wasn't Estrada's fault, but when Srisaket did fight his his usual southpaw style, he gave Estrada fits in the first fight. Second fight, he went orthodox, and that didn't work out because Estrada's there all day for that. So kind of a weird fight. Superfly is a little weird. Ioka is one of my favorite Superfly flyweights right now. Donnie Nietes, he's a living legend, but then when we have a Kovalev versus Canelo, oh man, Donnie Nietes always takes the back seat to the 175-pound division, and it's a Canelo fight moving up, and there's no catch weight, and Kovalev's coming off a great fight, man. I thought it was a great fight, the Anthony Yard. For as long as I could be live to watch that fight, man, that was fun. and then Kovalev just mollywopped the young man Yard. So not pretty ending to that fight. So yeah, man, Bivol could have done that to a Castillo, like that. Yard, Bivol versus Yard. Let's see that. Let's see Bivol outperform Kovalev. That's not bad, is it? But that's on the wrong side of the street too. You gotta raise your profile, Bivol, because Yard might look at that fight and say otherwise. Otherwise, John Pascal again. That would be a good. Why not run it back? Beat Pascal twice. You gotta find the career opponents. I mean, Pascal's a living legend in Canada right now, and a living fighting legend. You know what I'm saying? That's my thoughts, man. I think that's good piece of advice for the man Bivol. Now we can move on to Usyk and him leaving the list because man, it's just been such a drag. One of the best fighters in the world. It was kind of when Lomachenko had the shoulder, but he came back so quick. Between Usyk not getting the fights immediately because it's a new division, plus having an injury. I think he's been out of the ring for a year almost. So came back, and then his opponent dropped out. Another opponent dropped out, tested positive for substances. They weren't gonna take that. I think the zone has learned a lot in the recent in the year about PEDs and just not putting up their cash. One of their, I mean, Usyk was the lineal champion. They were he was one of the heads of like marketing for them, the marketing strategy. Had Canelo, Joshua, and Usyk, all like lineal champions or unified champions, number ones in their division. They lose Joshua. They have to talk about Ruiz, and now the rematch. Canelo can't afford to lose him. Hopefully, he gets the win over Kovalev for their sake. Um, and then you have Usyk, and the Takam fight would have been good, but then you had they replaced him with a strong former kickboxer, strong Spong wasn't Tyrone Spong. That'd be a cool nickname. But he had knockouts in the heavyweight division. He seemed pretty big. Um, then he tests positive. There's kind of some confusion with his tests because I think the B sample was cleared. Um, but it was so many days out that, hey, man, it could be anything. That shit could be coming out of his system too. I don't even know. I don't talk about drugs and PEDs here. So what did Usyk have to do? He had to show what he's done at cruiserweight, and he had to work out that bicep tear. I didn't do a prediction because this wasn't a pound for pound fight, even though Usyk was on my list. He ended up dropping when I reworked my list for October. Canelo versus Kovalev, that's my second middleweight. And if you want to just go into that, I have to rate J Rock. Well, I guess Canelo's my first middleweight, but J Rock in the middleweight divisions and the junior middleweight divisions, I think J Rock has the best win this year, the best fight. You might think Daniel Jacobs. How long was Canelo done this year? He might still be the best middleweight just in activity too. Canelo. Can you just look him up on BoxRec under Canelo? Oh, Alvarez. There you go. So in 2019, he's only had one fight. Daniel Jacobs bringing in one belt, having been defeated before. I mean, for better or worse, Alvarez has been defeated before. The Julian Williams versus Jared Hurd, I had more on the line for like personal stake on the line, and that win for Julian, he just whitewashed Hurd. There was no question, and there were Daniel Jacob fans that definitely thought he won that fight. I can maybe see why it was competitive, but I like Canelo's style, man. I can hate, but then you look at the Jesus Christ, the resume. It just goes on for days. And yes, sir, he's got 55 bouts. I think he can keep it going. And he's got Kovalev next, another 5-star fight on BoxRec. I don't really care about the stars or anything, but I don't really care about the stars because for whatever reason, this lineal unified light heavyweight fight coming up is only 4 stars. And we're gonna get into it. Let's finish on Usyk. Usyk, what can he do? He was gonna work out the bicep injury, make sure he had his punches there, nothing was bothering him. What else? He has stellar footwork, he has stellar activity, and he showed all that. He does take punches. I mean, look at his last fights. If you go, let's just look up Usyk. I have to do this at the same time. I don't want to waste time. Boom. Usyk. All right. So the belly fight. People say he got tagged up in the belly fight. The Garcia fight, maybe a little less so, because that's when that was a clinical fight by Usyk. But maybe he took a punch. I don't know, man. I don't know how many. I don't think Garcia landed that many punches in that fight. The Bradis fight, he definitely took some work. Huck, that was a schooling. Okay. I mean, but more often than not, at least in the last three fights, he's taken some work. He's taken some work from Bellew, and then he just picks him apart. Gassiev, he just picked him apart from the beginning. Bradis, that was a closer fight, and that was a majority decision. I saw a close fight too. Some people said Bradis could have won. Some people thought Usyk put on that was one of the better Usyk fights. So that was a tricky fight. Um, I would have had that fight back if, like, you know, man, he's wrapped up though. What's Bradis up to actually? That final isn't set in stone yet, right? Yeah. So yeah, Bradis beat Glowacki in the cruiserweight, and now he's gonna move on to fight Dorchikos. That'll be a good fight. Bradis is dirty, bro, though. that man is dirty. All right. So with Usyk, he had to leave my list. Canelo, he's just had a great year. Fighting Kovalev too. That's more impressive if he gets the win, and just impressive that he can just get in the ring with a man like Kovalev. That beats Jared Hurd, that beats just one fight against Jared Hurd. Even a second fight, that man Kovalev was a pound for pounder on my list too. One fight with Yard, and now Canelo. He can only lose against Canelo. He's meant to win, in my opinion. I had Kovalev rated higher than Canelo on my list before. He's just amazing boxer. That's why I think Kovalev's gonna win. But if Canelo gets it done, man, he gets all my respect. Part of me feels like well, it's a 50-50 fight, man. I think Canelo's coming up with so many credentials, and a lot of money, and a lot of money. So Canelo takes that one of those spots. The second spot was taken by Josh Taylor. There's just been a lot of people that have done actually stuff in 2019. We've had a really great year of boxing, and it's going to end really well. So Usyk kind of just falls out of my pound for pound list because of that. Let me just go back to the chat. Okay, we good. So what do I think after Usyk gets the corner stoppage in the seventh? Usyk just boxed around the man, the short notice opponent, short replacement notice thingy, Shaz Witherspoon. He has a name, cousin of Tim Witherspoon, and man, I don't know, bro. It's just like he put on a good first round, maybe good second round, and then it was just over. Usyk just went to the races, ran around the guy, lighting him up with combos. Yeah, there was nothing he could do, and he kept going to the body, and that was lights out, man. He just poked air, he just poked holes in that balloon, and it just deflated, bro. And he went to the corner the last time, and he was just slumped over the ropes. I don't even think they pulled out his stool. He was just slumped. It was like, all right, it's got the ropes. He's just like knocked out in the corner, and that's it, man. It's not just the headshots that'll do it; it's the body shots. So people saying like, oh, he doesn't have power. He doesn't have power. Well, you better watch your body, man. He's gonna run around you. You're gonna be tired just trying to outwork this guy like Bellew. He's gonna be tagging you to the body. He's not there to headhunt, and it's not pity pat work the way Lomachenko can be, but even Lomachenko's sitting on his punches. But I think Usyk's actually got the better body work. And yeah, so now we'll go on. I can't rate Usyk on that fight, unfortunately. He's had a bit of a lost year. Made me think if he should have just stayed at cruiserweight for another fight, or Uh, I don't know who the replacement could have been. Um, we'll see. It's over and done. No use crying over spilled milk. He doesn't make my pound for pound list for now. It's only October, so we'll see how the year ends. He probably won't make it, and I don't think he'll have another fight. Would love to see him get in another fight before the year's end. People want to see Usyk. I think he's funny. Whatever. Um, and my last thought on this was just who hasn't underperformed against Tomato Can and gone on to win titles. So Usyk is the Mando to the titles after December. So Usyk not being on my pound for pound list, he gets talked about still. So we'll see in 2020. And Usyk's goal for my number one spot because he could come back in a big way. He needs to get one of those belts. They might get fractured, they might not. But after whether he gets the unified belt or and then unifies for undisputed, or if he just gets a vacant belt and then unifies against one of those top guys, I think that's enough to get to the number one, number two spot. Um, I mean, I feel like undisputed is the more likely of the two. I don't know. We'll see. Um, do they want to keep the belts fractured, or would they rather just have them unify? So we'll see. Let's see. But now it's Monday. It's fight week. Uh, Before this fight this weekend, I kind of predict for the long term. So Beterbiev gets my spot because I think he will defeat. Let's just do my prediction. I think Beterbiev will win this fight by knockout. I think it's only going to be a knockout in this fight. Beterbiev, he's been chinned before, but gets up to fight, and he's open all the way through, and that's why he's had 14 fights and 14 knockouts. This is a 50-50 fight, guys. I mean, I'm only going for Beterbiev because I like his style in this fight. Being obviously the puncher. I think he does have actually good movement, good boxing ability, where he can shade to a more boxer puncher in a swarm style. Gvozdyk, he's the longer rangier. He's got strength and he's got height and I guess agility um, on Beterbiev, but I don't think he's stronger than Beterbiev. Beterbiev's built like a fucking steam engine, like a fucking train, bro. Um, and so I think he'll be the boxer. I think Gvozdyk will be the boxer puncher. Styles make fights, so the puncher tends to beat the boxer puncher in this style. Um, in order to beat the puncher, Gvozdyk might have to be a little bit boring in there and just have good movement, yes, but you also have to throw punches. You've got to look a little bit like a Keith Thurman in there, moving around, and then you might have to clinch too, and you might want to do a little more of a Crawford actually, and pick your shots because that's going to be a lot of power coming your way. Um, I don't want to condone clinching though. But if Gvozdyk has the length, he's got to stay off the ropes to be fair as well. Um, so if don't get chased to the ropes and then clinch and spin out or spin out and then break the clinch. Fight out of it. Don't let the referee get involved just because you got caught in the ropes and now you're clinching. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But Gvozdyk does have the reach advantage. I think he's got 2 inches on his 2 inches on his wingspan, and what else? He also has the height, make it a little tougher to headhunt there, but he's got to watch the body shots too. But Turbiev has great combos too. He knows how to put his punches together. I think he could. Beterbiev's open, so if he does box smartly, he could either take him the distance, or I could see Gvozdyk knocking him out too, because Beterbiev can make a mistake and get countered. Um, so I think a knockout is more likely than a decision, to be honest. And that's because Beterbiev brings so much power. I think Beterbiev will win this fight by knockout in the middle rounds. I want to say 6, just because I think it's so much. It's gonna be explosive in there, unless Gvozdyk gets on the skates, and then fights on the back foot, stays off the ropes. I wanted to say 6, but I think Beterbiev will get the knockout in the 7th. That would be my prediction, and I don't mind eating crow for that one, for sure. Um, yeah, I think round 7, just to split the difference. It could be all tied up in six rounds with a knockdown already. Um, it's gonna be fire, that fight. It's gonna be fire. Gvozdyk is a bit of a slow starter, and I think Beterbiev comes out to boogie. Um, what else? Before this fight, though, I would say Errol Spence is the closest, because we just had his fight, and a fight of the year. I think it had more boxing technique, more high level boxing than the Triple G uh, versus what's his face, Derevyanchenko. It was for unification too. There were more belts, uh, undefeated fighters, or one of them at least, Errol Spence. So he reigns as my welterweight. You might be asking why, if there's 2 spots left on my list after I have my number ones for every of the original 8 weight classes. Terrence Crawford, I guess, would fall behind what Josh Taylor has done this year, and what's his name, and what Canelo's done this year. If he goes on to beat Kovalev, there's no question about that. Josh Taylor, I think he's going to have a winning performance against Regis Prograis, and that's just been better competition for Josh Taylor up in 2019. The competition against Crawford just wasn't ever going to be what he hasn't been in any 50-50 fights, and that's all Josh Taylor and Regis Prograis have done this year. And then now it's unification for number 1 in the division. That's it, really. I can talk about my final list that I've compiled. Probably going to change soon. I'll probably change as I'm talking about it. Let's think about Shakur Stevenson. Also, shout outs to Shakur Stevenson's dad, or condolences. I'm sorry. Condolences. Shout outs to Shakur Stevenson, and condolences to him and his family. Dad passed away, but he seems like he's ready for his fight. There's a time to mourn, and I think he's ready to dedicate this fight, and really just leave it in the ring, and get this belt. I know Shakur wants Warrington, but he's not a champion yet, so Warrington's been calling out Gary Russell, and who else is a champion over there? Yeah, I think he did mention Russell. He mentioned someone else too, but I want Gary Russell and Warrington to just do it, just fight. I'm sorry, but just fight. Because Shakur Stevenson said he would want Warrington, but then he'd move up. I think he also wants the other champion, Gary Russell, but probably thinks that he could get the Warrington fight faster. And if not, there's money fights to be made up to lightweight. And I think by 2021, Shakur Stevenson will have a significant lightweight bout. So basically, the list starting at 10 are basically contenders for pound number 1, and they would be facing Beterbiev in this, imaginary, fantastical pound for pound ring that we have here. So Beterbiev, who would be coming in, if he is my number 1 pound for pound, he's going to be the lineal, unified, 15 knockouts and 15 fight, my number 1. Canelo, if he beats Kovalev, he would be number 2. Otherwise, number 2, I think, would be Kovalev, just in his division. I think Beterbiev would spark out Kovalev too. So also Gvozdyk, since I predict a little bit, I go into the future with my list, and it's already subjective. I could do like a now list, but I think it's more interesting to plan in advance, especially for the newcomers to the channel, so they could. We can talk about fights coming up, and the fights that people are able to get for themselves. And Beterbiev, I think he's my favorite to win, to become lineal, unified, undefeated, and 100% knockout ratio. I mean, that's what everyone on the pound for pound list should be should be going up against. Probably maybe the best puncher in the game after this fight this weekend. Um, Shout outs to Gvozdyk though. Gvozdyk's one of the best. He can easily be the number 1 spot, and that's on also lineage. Just continuing this 10-year history of light heavyweight lineage. He's big, strong, and fast, and he just got the best win of one of the best wins of last year, to become lineal and devastating fashion. Younger man, undefeated, has a pretty good resume, even before becoming the lineal champion. I hate to even talk about the belts that they have. It's good to have a belt, but the fact that he's lineal and in an active division, that's really all you need. And he's active himself, obviously, so he's now going against the best competition in his weight class. Man, I can't talk enough about this fight. I can't even get into the pound for pound list because this fight's so goddamn awesome. Errol Spence went in there against Sean Porter, who's a 2-time champion, who has him, Danny Garcia, and Manny Pacquiao have the best resumes in that division. And one of them's a champion, or both 2 guys are champions. And Sean Porter, who's been put down once in recent memory, he went down against Errol Spence in a really good fight. And that's why Errol Spence, he was my number 2 there. But let's go backwards. We're going to talk about number 10 coming in at flyweight. Previously, I had Tanaka. After what I saw, Julio Cesar Martinez, my number 10 and representative for the flyweights, after seeing him and what he did to the Selby brother, Andrew Selby, and what he did to Charlie Edwards. Charlie Edwards probably being the weakest champion in that division. But I think he'd give Tanaka hell. Cesar Martinez being a bit of a knockout artist, if I can say that. I think he's definitely a puncher over Tanaka, who's more of a boxer puncher. And I think if he would, for Tanaka to win, he'd have to box a little more. But I'm afraid that he might just end up slugging it out against the Martinez gentleman. He has a vacant fight coming up because Edwards just hightailed out division. I think just on those 2 fights alone, and Tanaka hasn't had quite the year that Martinez has had. So give me Martinez as my flyweight, even without a belt. I think to get the number 1 spot, if we want to big up the flyweights and the lower divisions, I think he'd have to unify or go undisputed at flyweight. I don't know how possible that'll be, but just a fight against Tanaka or Delakian, I guess, is down there too, or Antalane. If you could get one of those fights, I think they'll be in good order. Hold on a second. I just want to check out my champions here. Let's go. Yeah, I think I called them out correctly. Flyweight. Kosei and Thalane Delakian. Kosei is amazing, and he should be talked about more. Martinez just put a beating on everyone he's fought this year. Martinez, let me just double check. Vacant WBC. Whoops. Jesus Aguilar. Martinez. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh boy, we're gonna get a bunch of guys. Okay, let's look up Charlie Edwards. All right. Yes, sir. Julio Cesar Martinez Aguilar. Julio Aguilar. Jesus. Did I say Jesus? My bad. Yes. Yeah, 2019 has been lit. He knocked out his first opponent, Ordaz, and Selby knocked him out in the fifth. Charlie Edwards, he had him out by the third round. My God, that was nuts. So yeah, he's had a bit of a year. Tanaka, you gotta do something, baby. You should be unifying. You might be able to go up yourself, you know. So that's hold on a second. Kosei. Oh my god. Yo, give me where's Kosei at? Oh brother. Kosei Tanaka. All right. 2019 Taguchi. That was a good fight, but that was a decision fight. I think he was meant to win. Oh, crazy. Someone gave that fight a draw. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, he whitewashed Taguchi. Yeah. So he's had great fights. Kimura, Taguchi, but then Gonzalez was a bit of a step back, in my opinion. Still got him out in the seventh, but he really just had to open up because he was kind of getting tagged there. Someone had the fight even too, 56-56. Two up 2 rounds, up 4 rounds on the other cards. Uh, yeah, it was that close though. Probably winning most of the rounds, but he really just had to open up and put Gonzalez, the smaller Gonzalez, to bed. So I think Julio Cesar Martinez Aguilar, he takes my flyweight right now, even without a belt. He's had such a great year, and he's had a world level year, going overseas to do all of this. Really, yes, sir. That's all I got to say about that man. Coming at number 9, um, uh, another man without a title, but Shakur Stevenson. He makes my featherweights over Josh Warrington, and over anyone else. Gary Russell. I know he's got his ardent fans. Although he fights once a year, he's got a great little resume himself and great skills. But for me, Shakur, the way let me just finish up here for Martinez. I think Martinez, to be honest, he's might just get the belt, might be able to unify, maybe. But if he doesn't, I think he should put some work in at Superfly. If he could get an Ioka or a Nietes, that would be amazing for him. And if he could just go straight into Juan Francisco, probably lose that fight, but I would maybe suggest one Superfly fight. I know Tanaka would fight Ioka. If he can't try to get that Tanaka fight, man, get that belt. Maybe Tanaka. He's a little behind Tanaka on his career path, so Tanaka will probably get the Ioka fight. But then maybe he could get the Superfly fight against Tanaka, Martinez. And that's it. I don't think there's too much work to do at Superfly or at Flyweight. I'm not sure when unifications are going to happen. Anthalane should be making that happen, and Delakian should have been making that happen, and Tanaka should have been doing that. So Martinez, Shakur, maybe a little tougher. Maybe I should even put Martinez over Shakur if I'm looking at it. Shakur might need to do. I mean, he's already done so much. He's had about 5 or 6 fights in the last 2 years, and now he's getting a vacant opportunity because people are vacating belts at featherweight because it's been that bad. So maybe there is more excitement at flyweight at the moment, and maybe 9 for Juan Martinez. But based off the skills, if it was a pound for pound fight, Shakur Stevenson has the skills to beat anybody, I think. And he's only getting more polished. He's still like just 22. He's got to maintain his discipline too, which I'm curious about. Hopefully, he stays out of trouble because I truly believe that you have to be disciplined in this sport just to be an all-time great. Just boxing was their life. Those some of these Hall of Famers. So most of these Hall of Famers really. And so don't be distracted. In this digital age, it's going to be tough. But hold on a second. Let's go on. So yeah, my number 9 would be Shakur, just on more on boxing skills over Martinez. So if they were in the ring, I'd have to favor Shakur's and his skills and his length and his boxing ability. He's definitely Martinez is definitely unpolished. I mean, he's got his style, but he's definitely unorthodox. He's like a little Uzcategui in the 168 division. So he gives people trouble, but Shakur, let's see what he does this weekend or in the next not this weekend, but the next weekend. I think he'll win that fight, and I think he'll deserve the number 9 spot and as a upcoming featherweight star. I could also just see Shakur this year. He's a titleist. Next year he becomes unified against maybe a Warrington or Gary Russell. I feel like is going to just continue being the odd man out, to be honest. But I think Shakur's got more pressing matters at lightweight with the likes of Devin Haney, to get that sparring match out of the way and have it be for real. Lomachenko, he sparred him. Have that, let's get up there and fight. And also Gervonta Davis. Lightweight's going to be nasty, and by the end of 2020, 2021, we're going to have undisputed for sure. So the sooner Shakur could get himself in a position to get up there, then I'm not really worried about, Josh Warrington or Gary Russell. Unify against one of those two guys. They're both world level fighters. Maybe Gary Russell and Warrington will help Shakur and they'll just unify, and then Shakur can play the B side to those guys, and then get in the fight. So moving on, I just think Shakur has been on a tear, and he's got great prospects. Like from here to 2021, he's got to steer himself the right way, but he's just gonna keep racking it up. So number 8, and representing the bantamweights, is the man Naoya Inoue, moving up the divisions and finally getting himself into a tournament that includes, highly regarded names like Nonito Donaire. Zolani Tete dropped out, unfortunately, but he got himself a belt against Emmanuel Rodriguez. It's a good little fighter. Might still be not enough to just, pass over Superfly, but a win against Nonito Donaire and a unification, that's good. To make it great, maybe he could get the Zolani Tete fight, offer him a lot of money. And who else is left? Who else is left in that division? I could look at my champions right now. Yes, sir. Keep going back. Let's go to champions. Bantamweight. Oh yeah, he's got the man Nordine Ubali, who might be wrapped up with what's his face, and the man who shall not be named. Yes, you are now in my stream. All right. Just go on mute over there. Yep, perfect. Yes, go to bed. All right. A little water before we go on. WBO will not be vacant. And the IBO, for my man Shakur, he could just go get the IBO. Not a belt that we really care about so much, at least to become undisputed. But Nyambayar, Tug Nyambayar, King Tug, he's going to be rated and ranked in the other divisions. Don't come over here. No. He's going to be ranked and rated up there. And hold on a second, guys. I gotta reposition myself before I wrap this video up. Yes. All right. Yes. Yeah, Mr. Tug is highly rated. He's the IBO champion, and if he wants to just get a belt real quick against a highly rated featherweight, he could just get himself a Nyam Bayar and then really position himself against Gary Russell or Josh Warrington. So hopefully do that. So we'll move on to Inoue. I think he's got either Neri work. Ubali versus Neri is going to happen, I think. Nothing set in stone, but they're talking about it. Zolani Tete would be a good match. After I don't want to see any. I don't want to see any filler fights really after this tournament. Inoue, if he comes out healthy, I think he's in the prime of his life right now, and can still, if he can knock out Zolani Tete, or get a fight against Ubali before Neri, or just going undisputed at bantamweight's all I need from Inoue. I can see him moving up, but why move up when you can just become undisputed in your division? And those names are good names, man. Hard to say great names because they're not the pound for pounders, but but they are world level. Yes, they are. So over Inoue, I have Lomachenko. I think he's also got great work, and even with the loss, he's more than avenged. He's at least avenged in the sense where he's just moved up to fight bigger guys, and he's just in tough fight. He's in tough. He's generally going to be favored because of his boxing skills, but I know that's tough, man. I feel like it's tough, and he's getting impressive performances and impressive wins. He knocked down Luke Campbell, who was a bigger, potentially stronger guy. But Lomachenko showed that strength via boxing technique, and he took one to give one, and that knockdown of Luke more than did it. So, yeah, man, mostly just props. I think he has to take out his Mando. I'm just going to say it now, so when we get up to another guy in this list, if you're the best in your division, and then you've got a mandatory that is not being fulfilled, I'm going to start asking questions. If you're just more interested in the money fights, I get it. But, I guess it goes both ways. But the guys, Devin Haney's calling him out. He's in the spot. He's in the spotlight. And there's no real way about it. I mean, it's why he's not trying to A-side you. He knows that you're the man, and he wants to defeat the man. So I don't think that fight should go to purse bid unless the promotional companies just can't agree or anything, which they shouldn't. I think DAZN should obviously send their man Haney to ESPN and have them fight. If Haney really wants it, you know what I mean? Like, I think ESPN commands in that deal, in Top Rank, I guess, with ESPN. And Haney on ESPN, are you kidding me? I think that's a close fight, and if Haney wins that fight through ESPN, that's just gonna be nuts. Look at what's happening with Ruiz. Like, DAZN's promoting him and he's technically a PBC fighter, an Al Heyman fighter, if anything, and he's getting shine on DAZN. So if Haney could go over to ESPN, get shine over there, and potentially win as the Mando, so that would be awesome for Haney. I really wanted to get Haney on this list, and maybe this is why. I mean, he's a mandatory. Let Haney be my poster child for Mandos. For now, he's done everything the right way. He got himself the title shot, so he should be more than ready, even though he's super young. I think he's still a teenager, or might just be 20. I don't think he's even old enough to drink, if anything. So um, he's making all the right moves. He's just really impressive, just as a fighter. So Lomachenko, he gets my lightweight spot, and he also comes in at 7 on this list. He is also just great boxing technique and is taking up bigger men, going up the divisions. I really just rate what he's done at lightweight. This year, I guess, for Lomachenko, though, let's see what Lomachenko's done this year. I like the Linares fight. Maybe should have been easier, but that was his coming off the shoulder too. And then Pedraza at the end of the year. So this year was just Krola and Campbell. Okay. Just to get him in position to go undisputed. He should have been fighting. I think he was going to just fight what's his face, but he got injured. So maybe not totally his fault. I think he was in line and ready to go. What's his face? I think he's more than ready for unification against Richard Comey. There's really not much else to do in the division, and I rate Comey in that division. So, Linares and Pedraza, that was a good start. Krola was a step back. Luke Campbell should have been Comey. So we could have been looking at a unified champion right now. Maybe Donaire would be the best name in those two. Luke Campbell versus a Donaire. Donaire being in his original class after having moved up to Super Bantam. But I think we'd still rate Nonito better. 4, 3, 4. How can I do this? Just looking up Nonito Donaire, the Filipino Flash, 40-5 with 26 knockouts. Yeah, I think you'd have to rate Donaire, and as a champion too. It's going to just rate a little higher. Luke Campbell's got good skills, but never won any of his title fights. So yeah, maybe Inoue should be maybe 7. Yeah, Lomachenko just didn't get quite the fights we were hoping for him to get. My man on the list next, number 6, also representing second representative, going backwards here. Second rep at middleweight, coming in at the junior middleweight limit. Let me just see, because he fought. Oh, now I can talk about Gallimore. Gallimore is fighting the man. Hold on a second. Let me do one thing at a time. Yes, sir. All right. Erickson Lubin versus Gallimore. That's a replacement for Mr. Lubin, who's going to fight Gao Shea, I think is how you pronounce it. So this is a replacement. Plenty of time before, when it was announced. I think Gallimore has had plenty of time to get ready for the October 26th showdown. That's going to be a good fight. And he was an opponent for Julian Williams in 2018. Okay. Really, the only fight Julian J-Rock has had in 2019 was Jared Hurd. 2018 against Gallimore was good. But he got himself in the fight for unificate, or for the unified titles. And that fight alone, I mean, we wanted to see the rematch, and that's not his fault. His opponent backed out. So there was a time when I was rating Jared Hurd as close to lineal champion as possible, because the man he was supposed to fight for unification, for lineage, he lost against a guy Jared Hurd started this whole run at. So I also rated Jared Hurd as a as a pound for pounder before I even started videos. So yeah, J-Rock gets his spot because he's just had the best name in recent memory, and now he's damn near undisputed at he's damn near undisputed or damn near lineal at 154, which has been pretty active. It's kind of faltered lately, but not J Rock's fault. So his opponent backed out. So no Moschenko. So yeah, J Rock comes in at 6. Josh Taylor also been on a tear. Josh Taylor. Let's see what he's done in 2019. I think he's only had the 2 fights, the Tartan Tornado, 2019, Baranchik, and Regis Prograis. That's all you need, really. That's maybe the Ryan Martin fight, but that was at the end of last year. So since then, and even just the last year and a half against Victor Postal in what was it, June, May, June, yeah, in June last year. That's pretty much the start of. He's ending that with Regis Prograis. He started with Postal, and now he's ending it with Prograis. To me, I think he could. Josh Taylor comes in at 5, and I think he could, after this fight, he might as well just move up. Maurice Hooker moved up. Maybe he can get a money fight against Jose Ramirez. If you move up, they'll say you're ducking, but we all know you're going to try to get up there with one of the 147 greats. I think TBRB, Transnational Boxing Rankings, will call him the lineal champion. Josh Taylor versus the number 2 Regis Prograis. So I think it's for Ring Magazine, which at this point I think are for this division, for this fight, calling Josh Taylor, the winner of Josh Taylor versus Regis Prograis, the number 1 lineal champion. I'm not mad at that. We all want to see undisputed, but Jose Ramirez opted out of the Regis Prograis fight first, and he also opted out of the tournament. So the tournament, maybe he knew he could make money either way, and that he'd still be a draw and get a Maurice Hooker fight, who didn't get in the tournament either. But what Josh Taylor and Regis Prograis did to get to this unification is more impressive, I think. When you look compared to what the resume of what's his face, Jose Ramirez has been. Jose Ramirez. Wait a second. Can I do this? Yes. All right. Jose Carlos Ramirez. 2019, he's fought Zepeda in a majority decision. Kind of a setback, and that's why I thought he'd have trouble against Maurice Hooker, but Maurice Hooker got beat the F up from round 1 on. What good fight, though. Good fight. Another unification fight. Let it be known. Zepeda, he doesn't cut it, man. Baranchik or Relic would give Zepeda a tough fight. Zepeda just, yeah, I don't love Zepeda's style, because we just saw him in the weak performance against Pedraza. I thought, yeah, getting himself back in the WBC rankings. Yeah, not the best, man. That's why Josh Taylor, on his path to undisputed at 140, if he can't get the fights he wants, I think he should try to get in one of the ranking bodies at welterweight. Whoever he thinks he could get the fight from. If they want to go the PBC route, bring Cyclone Promotions under the PBC, let him be his own promotion, let him be his own man. He'd have to get some exposure. So maybe ESPN is the better route. Just try to line himself up for Crawford. They might just try to put Amir Imam in his way. They might try to put in Maurice Hooker or anybody else that they've had move up. Maybe they'll try to put Kavalauskas in his way. I think he takes them all. So that's why Josh Taylor ranks so highly, because he's going to end up moving up from one competitive division now at 140. This year has been lit. 2019 at 140 has been lit. And I think he'll be able to move up and get a belt at 147. at some point in the future. So with all that mentioned, my number 4, I had to put Canelo Alvarez. He's been doing similar stuff, moving up the ranks, and now he's in against Kovalev. No ifs, ands, or buts. The only red flag was that he's going against Kovalev, not because he's old, but just because he had a tough fight and he's having him. It's a quick turnaround for Kovalev, who I'm not sure if he ended up in the hospital at the end of that fight, but he did get hurt in that fight, and um, you know, he normally, if you get knocked out, you get 6 months, but I'm not sure if he took any concussions in that fight. Maybe not, but he survived. What round? He had a really tough round against Anthony Yard, which would have warranted, maybe take a few months off. But he's going back in there because he's a warrior, and he's going back in for some money too. He's a prize fighter, and Canelo was bringing a lot of money. But the only red flag is that, that the quick turnaround from being in a tough fight where he had to survive a round. And Canelo, though, he's moving up against the best jabber in the game. I think it's fair to say Kovalev's got, even at his age, he's got the strongest and most educated jab. So let's try to wrap this up. But do me a favor, guys. If you've come to this point and you're listening live and you haven't said nothing, how about you support your boy with a quick thumbs up, like you'll hear me do now? Let me see those thumbs up go up, up, up. Let me know you're listening by commenting. Talk to me. Let me know. Tell me your name. Tell me where you're from. Let me shout you out. Let me know what you're thinking. Yes, sir. So what we're talking about here, we're talking about number 4, Canelo. I guess he was in a unification against a decent name, a top 10 name in the division. The man kind of looked like a 168 pounder in the ring that night. So I don't think Danny Jacobs had that much time left at 160. And we didn't really get to see him defend, world champions are crowned in their defenses, in their first defenses, not just when they get the belt. So Danny Jacobs as a champion didn't quite prove anything, even though, he's got ardent supporters who thought that he won that fight. So I'll temper my expectations, but the fact that he's going up to fight Kovalev, even if people say, oh no, Kovalev won that fight, I might, outside of the judge, I'm going to judge that fight myself. I'm going to give my best account of the scorecard. I saw times in the Triple G fight where people thought Triple G won that. I thought Canelo did enough to at least get the draw for sure. There were points in that fight where I was saying, man, it's late. I know what Triple G is doing, but I can see Canelo either winning or getting the draw because it's just, it wasn't enough. He was Triple G was missing and getting countered. Even though he was pressing the action, that's just one of the criteria. Ring generalship, that's just one of 4. And Canelo had the cleaner punches in that. They were both landing significant punches too. And the defense, maybe Canelo had the better defense. So, hey, that's it for that. But now we get into the top 3. Canelo, this maybe would have been Usyk's spot, depending on his opponent at heavyweight. He's got to do a little more. J-Rock also, he comes in at number 6. Maybe that could have been Usyk, but Usyk just hasn't done anything this year, and beating Hurd is more than enough for me. Even with a loss, I could see him moving up to middleweight now. Just, I don't know. Will he do it? Will he not? Maybe he won't. But it's probably in the back of his head to go up there, beat Charlo, and then maybe get a unification up there. Definitely want to avenge that loss, and that maybe gets him up further. But Canelo number 4, Andy Ruiz, one of the not best wins this year. Andy Ruiz defeating the previously undefeated Anthony Joshua, the unified belt holder at heavyweight. Um, Andy Ruiz, man, Andy Ruiz shocked everybody. Um, you know, his one loss being against a former world champion, and he gave a good account of himself. He didn't lose, he didn't get knocked out or anything against Joseph Parker. So ending the year with another Anthony Joshua fight. Now that Anthony Joshua has time to prepare for an Andy Ruiz and knows what's coming, he'll have even more preparation to do. So Andy Ruiz comes in at that spot. I think he'll win that fight against Anthony Joshua. I think it's going to be a tougher fight for sure, though. Maybe a decision. Maybe a decision. Maybe Andy Ruiz is going to box more. He's saying he's going to come in lighter and faster. Maybe he'll chin check Joshua again and get the knockout. That'll be if that's that, then Errol Spence only had the Sean Porter fight. Andy Ruiz had 3 fights this year. That'll be his 3rd fight. Andy Ruiz might come in at number 2. And might just come in at number 1 because Beterbiev with 15 knockouts, if he's lineal at 175, maybe he could knock out Andy Ruiz. Whoa. What's Andy Ruiz's dimensions? No. What the hell are we looking at? Yo, sometimes it's like impossible to find names. I should just look at the champions. All right. He's 6'2". He's got shorter arms, I think, than Beterbiev. Let me just see the man Beterbiev. Let's just see the man Beterbiev. Hold on, I got him right here. Beterbiev, 73-inch reach. Yeah. But basically, the man he's fighting has got the same specs as Andy Ruiz, basically. He's just bigger. So yeah, Gvozdyk is 6'2", Andy Ruiz is 6'2". Andy Ruiz has a 74-inch reach. Gvozdyk has a 75.5-inch reach. Gvozdyk kind of looks like a cruiserweight too, so he's damn near as close to the heavyweight limit as you can get. Both guys are too. Beterbiev can move up to cruiserweight if he wanted to, maybe get some good fights. Not sure if that would be enough for Ruiz to get the number 1 spot. Even though he's been active, Beterbiev has been pretty active this year too with the 2 fights. The Gvozdyk fight, Callum Johnson came late. Ruiz kind of got lucky with the Anthony Joshua. He was sort of working his way up. So there's some luck in there too, with so many people dropping out of the race for the fight against Anthony Joshua, because otherwise he would have just been fighting Dimitrenkos of the world in 10 rounders. So I'll still go with Beterbiev, but Andy might be able to go over Spence just by another spectacular win over Anthony Joshua. The knockout was so nice, I want to see it twice, basically, Andy, to get the number 2 spot, which is occupied by the welterweight. And also, I like the welterweight competition better. Those guys are fighting each other more often than not. Name me the top 10 of the division. I'm sure that they've all been active this year. Only one really stands out, if you know what I mean. Righty. If you guys are listening, thanks so much. Leave me some comments, some feedback. Let me know what you think of the pound for pound list and who your number 1 is, and then who your number 10 is. I try to provide everything for you guys here. So Spence is my number 2, and then obviously after this weekend, I think Beterbiev wins the fight. If not, it's Gvozdyk defeating one of the best punchers in the game, top 3, no doubt about it. Pound for pound power, yeah, man, Beterbiev's up there. fans of the heavyweights are going to be like Luis Ortiz and all this and Deontay Wilder. Okay, if Wilder's number one, then Beterbiev's number two. And that's only because Adonis Stevenson's out of the game. That guy had power in both fists, even though he was left-hand happy. Yes, sir. So shout outs to Adonis, who's doing so well now. That's crazy. He's already hitting the bag. He's working up a sweat. Man, it's crazy. That's crazy. His life is crazy, bro. So shout outs to the Superman. Anything else I can get into? Bivol, we want you to step it up, man. Don't just keep the sports car in third gear. Get it up there, man. Get it up there. Maybe it's too soon for those jokes, but other than that, we've got Fight Week, bros. We got Fight Week. What do you guys think about Fight Week? Leave your comments and thoughts in the chat section or in the comment section below. Give me a thumbs up if you like the contents of this video. We're talking about Alexander Gvozdyk, the nail, versus King Arthur Beterbiev. My favorite to win the fight, Beterbiev. I need to check the odds now. Actually, I'll check the odds. Odds Beterbiev versus Gvozdyk. Here we go. 4 days ago, 3 days ago. Let's go to 3 days ago. I don't really have a site for all this because you can't always find it. Beterbiev to win plus 105. But Gvozdyk isn't the underdog that much. Oh yeah, he is the underdog. Sorry. Yeah, if you bet 100, you get 105 back. Da, da, da. All right, I'll just read this. Gamblingsites.com talking about Beterbiev versus Gvozdyk. Betting on Arthur Beterbiev versus Alexander Gvozdyk, the most slept on fight of 2019. The guy says, do we have a name for the guy? Oh man, he's got Adam Haynes, October 11th. Yes. Okay, let's just read this whole article. Beterbiev and Gvozdyk will finally go head-to-head in a gargantuan light heavyweight unification scrap on Friday, October 18th. The battle will go down at the Acura Center in Philadelphia for all the belts, WBC, IBF, and the lineal light heavyweight title. What else could you ask for? Okay, maybe free beers, a jet ski, and a Rolex watch, but you get my point. The author goes on. He says, for every die-hard boxing fan, Beterbiev and Gvozdyk is akin to a big shiny box under the Christmas tree. Yet some are sleeping on Beterbiev versus Gvozdyk. These two guys are amongst the most fearsome, the dangerous, downright scary individuals in the world of boxing today. Fans, I'm gonna go off the article real quick. Fans of the heavyweight division, I think they poo-poo the light heavyweight division. I think light heavyweight division to the heavyweight division is like that stepsister or like that umbrella division. They just look over the cruiserweight division. They pretend like it's not there as one of the last divisions to get added. But so yeah, I think light heavyweight just gets looked at like, if you were that dangerous, you should be a heavyweight right now. Not knowing that Beterbiev, and I continue the article, 14-0, has an incredible 100% knockout rate. He has only made it to the 12th round once in his IBF title bout against Enrico Colling, which he knocked him out there. The article continues, and then knocked out the poor guy out. He said, and then knocked the poor guy out for the privilege. Damn. And then Gvozdyk, 17-0, 14 knockouts to his name. You might remember him as the fighter who ended former WBC and lineal champion Adonis Stevenson's 5-year reign over the division. I can't think of many fights that even come close to matching this one in 2019. I believe it will go down as the fight of the year. Today, I'm going to reveal everything there is to know. All right. The odds come courtesy of Betway Sportsbook. They have Artur Beterbiev plus 105 underdog and Gvozdyk to win as a negative 138, as a minus 138. So let's pause. The article goes on. Of course, he's talking about Beterbiev coming in as a plus 105 underdog in this bout. Can you imagine the knockout artist could ever be an underdog? The guy is a machine and undoubtedly bossed this division in most other eras. Yet here he is with 100% knockout ratio as the underdog. The article goes on. The reason why Beterbiev is the underdog is he's fighting Gvozdyk. There are a few fighters on the planet that command the respect that the Ukrainian does. He is a monster and he has serious KO power, but also some excellent boxing skills. Right. What else? The tail of the tape. I kind of gave you guys that already. They're putting Beterbiev at 6. I think he's 5'11". I think he's only 2 years older than the Ukrainian. This guy's got a good breakdown now. What else? Can we talk about anything? Turned professional in 2013. I think that's a year after Spence. Now he's doing the same thing as Spence and becoming lineal champion. So there you go. Great amateur career. Yeah, he had poor management. I think Beterbiev will get up there. I think he also speaks English. Okay. He's getting a little better. Gvozdyk speaks a lot better English. Gvozdyk needs a great performance here. Either a great boxing performance or he's got to get the knockout. I mean, he had a great fight against Adonis Stevenson. That was amazing. That was an amazing fight. Okay, yeah, man. I mean, it's just one of the most dangerous divisions. All right, this guy's not talking about anything I haven't talked about. Beterbiev versus Gvozdyk is getting super close. My issue with Gvozdyk, the article says, is there is a question mark over his chin. We saw a little weakness in the Tommy Karpency fight, and Beterbiev will be more than keen to test the power. All right. He's also a slow starter, even though he started quick enough for Adonis Stevenson for him to get his respect. And then Adonis just fucking put it back on him, turned it around as the older man. That's crazy. The article goes on. Can he find Beterbiev? Can he find the platform to land the big shots? Or can Gvozdyk keep him out of range? Yeah, I like that. Speak of trees, check out the best betting sites for bonuses to see if you can get it. Yeah, I mean, I can't bet on fights. It's just a crapshoot. But maybe, who knows? All right. So that's it, man. That's the best fight of the year. That's my favorite fight of the year. We have Errol Spence versus Sean Porter, which was a great fight. I personally like the Julian Williams fight was good. I have a bad taste in my mouth because it was such a washing. It was a great performance by both fighters, but Julian just everything you can do, I can do better, basically. I guess that in that sense, it was annoying in that sense, but it was still one of the best fights. We're getting Regis Prograis, but I'm not sure if we'll get a knockout in that fight, maybe a knockdown. And then I really liked the Caleb Plant versus Uzcategui. I really rated Uzcategui before that fight, and Caleb Plant came in there, and it was just a dog show. I mean, Jared Hurd had some holes that just hadn't been exposed, and Uzcategui, as unorthodox as he is, no one could really find a way to defeat him effectively. And Caleb Plant went to war and showed how to do it as a boxer. And and he was also the underdog, and he was also the boxer versus the boxer puncher. So he really had to work for that win. But that, without further ado, my battery is low on this computer and I better get off because I got things to do. I've been live for an hour and 34 minutes. Holy. But if you guys like the contents of this video so far, or if you're listening, thank you so much. Please give me a thumbs up like you'll hear me do now. Yes, yes, support yourself before anyone else, and you'll make it work. All right. Happy Monday to everybody. I think I've covered all the news really. Shout outs to everyone who's lost anyone, or anyone who's recovering right now in the hospital. Usyk has got plenty more to prove, and hopefully 2020 will be his year. Andy Ruiz, though, will put a stop to that. We'll hope to put a stop to that, and we'll see how it goes. So, yeah, Gvozdyk versus Beterbiev, guys. Don't miss out on that fight. That's Friday. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, guys. Thanks so much for listening. If you're new to the channel, please comment, subscribe, hit the thumbs up on my videos, and on your way out, hit the bell icon for notifications for the next time we go live. You heard me? All right. Thank you guys so much. This is Fink's Art of Boxing.